My name is Victoria, and for the first 15 years of my life I honestly thought I had the perfect family. There were 5 of us siblings, Diana the oldest, the twins Ethan and Elliot, Joe and Amanda. The youngest. Our parents ran a successful chain of restaurants, and while we weren't filthy rich, we lived comfortably, or at least that's what I lived until the day I turned 15. It all began on my birthday. We were celebrating in the backyard of our house. The warm summer air filled with the sound of laughter, music, and the clinking of glasses. I was surrounded by friends and family, feeling like the luckiest girl in the world, but then I overheard something that would shatter my entire sense of reality. I was just about to step into the kitchen to grab a drink when I heard Diana's voice. It was sharp, filled with anger. She was arguing with Mom. It's time you told her the truth. Diana's words rang out, filled with frustration. I can't, Mom pleaded, her voice soft and wavering. Not today. It's her birthday, and what are you just going to keep spending the family's money on someone who isn't even a part of it? I froze, my heart pounding. Something about those words, something in the way she said it, chilled me to the bone. Diana, please. Mom's voice cracked, but Diana wasn't backing down. She deserves to know. My breath caught in my throat. What did she mean by saying I wasn't part of the family? She's your sister, Mom insisted, her voice desperate. No, she's not, Diana snapped, slamming something against the table. She's just the housekeeper's daughter, the one Dad took in out of pity. In that moment it felt as if the earth beneath me had crumbled away. My chest tightened, my vision blurred. With tears I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I took a hesitant step back, reeling from what I just heard, and bumped into someone. It was Ethan, one of the twins. He'd been listening to. His expression was a mix of indifference and amusement. So you finally know, he said, a smirk tugging at his lips. Good. I was tired of pretending you were our sister. You knew. I barely managed to whisper. Of course we knew. Elliot appeared behind him, his face unreadable. Diana told us years ago. Only Amanda doesn't know. She's too young to understand. The ground beneath me felt unsteady. My mind raced, scrambling to make sense of it all. The way Diana had always looked at me with such disdain, the way the twins had always kept their distance, the constant reminder that I didn't quite fit in. Why, I finally managed to choke out, my voice breaking with emotion. Ethan's tone was icy, devoid of any empathy. Your mother was our housekeeper, he said, matter-of-factly. When she died in that car accident, Dad insisted on adopting. You said it was the right thing to do, that we owed her that much after all the years she worked for us, but you were never really one of us. I could feel the weight of his words crushing me. I stumbled backward, struggling to hold myself together. Just then I heard the kitchen door open, and both Mom and Diana stepped out. Mom's face drained of color when she saw us standing there, frozen in shock. Victoria, sweetheart, she started, but I couldn't let her finish. Is it true? I interrupted, my voice shaking uncontrollably. I adopted. The silence that followed was all the confirmation I needed. Diana took a step forward, her eyes filled with contempt. Your mother was the maid, she said coldly. She died in that car crash when you were 2, and in his infinite stupidity, Dad decided to adopt you instead of sending you to an orphanage where you belong. Diana, Mom's voice was horrified, but it was too late. What is the truth? Diana sneered. You've been living off our generosity for 13 years, wearing expensive clothes, going to private schools, acting like you're part of the Wellington family. The twins laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. It cut through me like a blade. Where's Dad? I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper, my throat tight with emotion. Mom hesitated, her eyes darting away. He's away on a business trip. Victoria, please, she begged, stepping toward me. Let me explain, but I couldn't listen to her anymore. I turned and ran up the stairs, locking myself in my room. I collapsed onto my bed, the tears flowing freely, my whole world unraveling around me. Hours passed before I heard a soft knock on my door. Victoria, it was a man's voice, calm, steady, and older. I'm Robert, the family's attorney. May I come in? I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to talk, but there was something in his tone, something that made me open the door. Robert was in his 60s with graying hair and kind eyes. I had known him my whole life. He had always been there for important family events, a quiet presence in the background. Now, standing in front Of me, he looked like someone who might finally help me make sense of everything. Your father asked me to give you this when you turned 15, Robert said, his voice calm and steady as he pulled a sealed envelope from his briefcase. But given everything that's happened today, I think you need to know the truth now. My hands trembled as I took the envelope. Inside there was a letter and several legal documents, their weight heavier than anything I had ever held in my life. As I unfolded the letter, Robert's voice cut through my thoughts. Your biological mother, Charlotte, wasn't just a housekeeper, he began, his tone careful. She was your father's childhood best friend. They grew up in the same neighborhood, coming from very little, while your father built his fortune. Charlotte chose a simpler life. I stared at the words in disbelief. My mind was still reeling from the confrontation downstairs, but what Robert said next would shatter everything I thought I knew about my family. When Charlotte passed away, she didn't just leave me behind, she left behind shares in my father's original company, shares that he had given her years ago as a token of gratitude for believing in him when no one else did. What does this mean? I hit like on this video, whispered, barely able to form the words. As my eyes scanned the documents, the numbers on the page seemed to blur together, but I couldn't ignore the gravity of what I was reading. Robert met my gaze, his expression grave. It means, Victoria, that you own 30% of Wellington's restaurant. Your father placed the shares in a trust, and only you can claim them when you turn 21. My heart raced as I processed his words. For years I had felt like an outsider in my own home, but now it seemed as though the truth was far more complicated than I could ever have imagined. Before I could fully absorb the weight of his revelation, the door to my room flew open, and Diana stormed in, her face twisted in fury. That's impossible, she screamed, her voice high-pitched with disbelief. That maid had more shares than us. Robert's expression hardened, his calm demeanor now steely. Charlotte was an original shareholder. Your father gave her those shares long before he ever married your mother, and now they legally belong to Victoria. The next few hours were nothing short of chaos. Diana raged. The twins threatened to contest the trust, and my mother did her best to mediate, though it was clear her world was falling apart too. But as the night wore on and the arguments continued, one thing became abundantly clear to me. I couldn't stay in this house any longer, not after everything I had learned, not after seeing my so-called siblings' true colors that night after everyone else had gone to bed. I made my decision. I packed only the essentials and left a letter for my father, not knowing if I'd ever be able to look him in the eye again. Robert Ever, the loyal family attorney, helped me escape. He drove me to his sister Rachel's home, a retired school teacher who lived in another city. I would be safe there, far away from the venomous grip of my family. Your father knew this day might come, Robert explained as we drove through the quiet, empty streets. That's why he asked me to look after you, to keep you safe. Why didn't he tell me himself? I asked, my voice thick with tears that wouldn't stop flowing. He wanted to raise you as a true Wellington without the burden of your adoption hanging over you, Robert said, his voice full of quiet sadness. But Diana, she was always obsessed with being the primary heir. She couldn't accept anyone else having a stake in the family's fortune. 2 days later, my father came to see me. His arrival was unexpected, but his presence was a comfort. When he hugged me, I could feel the weight of his regret pressing down on both of us. I'm so sorry, my little one, he murmured, his voice breaking as he held me close. Charlotte was my best friend, my confidant. When I started my business, she was the only one who believed in me. I gave her those shares because she earned them, not out of charity. Why didn't you tell me before? I asked, my voice trembling as I pulled away to look at him. Why keep this from me? I love you as my own daughter, he said softly. I wanted to protect you, but now I see that maybe I made a mistake. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out another envelope. This is for you, he said, handing it to me. It's a separate bank account I set up when I adopted you. Use it for your education, to build your future. I hesitated before speaking again, my voice barely above a whisper. Diana and the twins, they hate me. He sighed deeply, looking down for a moment before meeting my eyes again. They're blinded by greed, their mother my wife spoiled them, especially after I adopted you. She thought she was protecting their inheritance. I stayed with Rachel, and she turned out to be the most incredible mentor I could have asked for. With her guidance, I focused on my studies and was accepted into a prestigious business university. Over the next few years, I kept in touch only with my father and Amanda, my youngest sister. When she learned the truth about me, she would sneak away to visit me in secret. I don't care if you're adopted, Amanda told me one evening, her eyes shining with determination. You'll always be my favorite big sister. At 21, as stipulated, as in the trust, one officially claimed my shares. By then I had graduated with honors and had already started my own business consulting firm. One day, out of the blue, I received an unexpected call from Robert. Victoria, your father is in the hospital, he said, his voice grave. He had a heart attack. I rushed to the hospital, my heart pounding as I prepared to face the family I had tried so hard to escape. Diana was there, of course. She was 32 now, and her expression was as venomous as ever. What are you doing here? She hissed, her voice dripping with contempt. You're not part of this family anymore. I met her glare with a cold, steady calm. I own 30% of the family business, I said evenly, my voice firm, and more importantly, I love my father. I'm not going anywhere. The twins tried to intimidate me, but I wasn't the scared 15-year-old girl they had once bullied. If you try anything, I warned, my tone icy, I'll sell my shares to the highest bidder. Do you think you'll be able to run the company with an outsider controlling a third of it? That silenced them for now. My father eventually made a full recovery, but it was clear he had made up his mind. He was ready to retire. The next shareholders' meeting would determine the future of Wellington's restaurant. As soon as the meeting began, Diana stood tall and declared, as the oldest sibling, it's my rightful position to take over as CEO. I sat back in my chair, arms crossed, studying her with a quiet amusement. You really haven't learned anything over the years, have you? I asked, shaking my head. My gaze turned toward Robert, my trusted ally. Robert, please distribute the documents. Robert handed out neatly organized folders to everyone in the room. Over the past 6 years, he began, his voice steady and confident, Victoria has quietly acquired additional shares from small investors. She now owns 45% of Wellington's restaurant. Diana's expression faltered, her face going ashen. Impossible, she muttered under her breath, her eyes scanning the room in disbelief. Oh, it's very possible, I replied evenly, not letting her distraction throw me off. You remember my consulting firm, right? It's been quite successful. Every dollar I earned, I reinvested into buying more shares of the restaurant. The twins were quick to shout their objections, their voices rising in chaos, but Robert calmly raised his hand, silencing them. Furthermore, he continued, Amanda has decided to sell her shares to Victoria. Amanda, now poised and confident 20-year-old, smiled at the mention of her decision. I trust my sister to do what's best for the company, she said, her voice firm and clear. Robert didn't miss a beat. With Amanda's shares, Victoria now holds a 51% stake in Wellington's restaurant. She has the majority control. The room went dead silent. Diana stood up so quickly, her chair tipped over, crashing to the floor with a loud noise. You can't do this, she shouted. This is our family's company. I remained seated, calm and composed. Exactly, I said, my voice firm but controlled. This is our family's company, and whether you like it or not, I subscribe for more revenge stories. And part of this family. Dad legally adopted me, gave me his name, and most importantly, his love, and now I'm going to protect his legacy. The room exploded with chaos. Diana fumed. The twins yelled accusations, and some of the board members tried unsuccessfully to restore order. You, Diana screamed, this is corporate manipulation. I slid a set of neatly organized documents toward her. Go ahead, I said smoothly. Here are the complete records of my stock purchases. Every transaction is legal and fully documented. Robert made sure of that. The twins turned on Amanda, their voices filled with anger and betrayal. You traitor, how could you sell her your shares? Amanda stood firm, unshaken by their words. I've seen how you've been running the company these past few years. The restaurants are declining. Employees are unhappy and all you care about is padding your own pockets. Her words hit home while I had been building my own business. I had kept a close eye on Wellington's restaurant. Diana and the twins had mismanaged it, driven by greed, and nearly destroyed everything my father had built. I stood up, my voice ringing out with authority as the new majority shareholder. My first official act will be a full audit of all company operations and financial transactions from the last 6 years. Diana's face drained of color. You can't do that, she said, her voice weak. I arched an eyebrow. Why not? Is there something you don't want me to find? Robert stepped forward, his voice low but filled with authority. During my preliminary investigation, I've already found several concerning irregularities in the accounts. I placed another set of documents on the table in front of them. Are you referring to Diana's unauthorized fund transfers to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, or the twins' inflating supplier cost to collect kickbacks? The room went completely still. Diana, Ethan, and Elliot stared at me in horror. Elliot was the first to break the silence. You've been spying on us, I smirked. Did you really think I wouldn't prepare for this moment? I've spent the past 6 years not just building my own business, but documenting every single shady transaction you've made. Diana clenched her fists, her face twisted with fury. What do you want? I walked forward, leaning my hands on the table. I want all of you to resign right now. Never, Ethan shouted, his face flushed with anger. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. Fine, I'll call the financial authorities. They'll be very interested in your activities. The room fell into a thick silence. The tension was suffocating, but I let my words sink in. Before speaking again, you have two options: step down, return every penny you've stolen, and walk away free, or fight, end up in prison, and still lose the company. It's your decision. Diana's eyes burned with fury. This is about your birthday, isn't it? This is just revenge. I met her gaze, unwavering. No, Diana, this is about justice. This is about Dad's legacy. This is about the employees whose livelihoods you've toyed with, and yes, this is also for that 15-year-old girl you tried to break with your cruelty. I glanced around the room, meeting the eyes of my adoptive siblings. You called me an outsider. You treated me like trash. You tried to steal what was rightfully mine. But you know what? You made me stronger. You taught me that real family isn't about blood. It's about love and respect. Amanda stepped forward, taking my hand in a quiet show of support. You have 24 hours. I concluded. Resign and return the stolen money, or face the legal consequences. The next day, Diana, Ethan, and Elliot submitted their resignations. The audit confirmed they had embezzled millions, but under the threat of legal action, they agreed to pay everything back. After everything settled, Dad finally emerged from the shadows. He placed his hands on my shoulders, his eyes filled with pride. Charlotte would be proud, he said softly. You didn't just protect her legacy. You've proven yourself to be a better person than those who once despised you. In the months that followed, I dedicated myself to restoring Wellington's restaurant to its former glory. I hired new management, improved working conditions for the employees, and modernized the operations. Every decision I made was for the future of the company, for my father's legacy. Diana and the twins tried starting their own business, but their tarnished reputations followed them everywhere they went. Without the resources and influence of Wellington's restaurant, they struggled to gain a foothold. The last I heard, they had settled for mid-level jobs in different cities far removed from the power and wealth they once took for granted. Amanda, having completed her university studies, joined me in the company. Together we expanded Wellington's restaurant internationally, transforming it into a brand that represented excellence, integrity, and resilience. Our adoptive mother, now free from the toxic influence of her older children, finally found the courage to confront her past. One day she sat me down, her voice thick with regret. I should have defended you sooner, she admitted, her eyes filled with sorrow. Money has a way of bringing out the worst in people, but you, Victoria, you've proven that it can also bring out the best. Now, 10 years later, Wellington's restaurant is more successful than ever. At the entrance of our corporate headquarters, 2 framed photographs hang side by side, one of Charlotte, my biological mother, and one of my father. They serve as a constant reminder that true wealth isn't measured by money but by character, integrity, and the legacy we leave behind. And for that 15-year-old girl who once cried alone in her bedroom, feeling lost and betrayed, we didn't just survive, we triumphed. As for my siblings, I have learned to forgive them, not for their sake but for mine. Their cruelty, their greed, and their rejection made me stronger, wiser, more determined to be different. Now, 10 years later, Wellington's restaurant is thriving like never before. At the entrance of our corporate headquarters, 2 framed photographs hang side by side, one of Charlotte, my biological mother, and one of my father. They serve as a constant reminder that true wealth isn't measured by how much money you have but by the character you build, the integrity you uphold, and the legacy you leave behind. For that 15-year-old girl who once sat alone in her bedroom, feeling lost, abandoned, and betrayed, look at us now. We didn't just survive the storm, we triumphed. We turned everything that was thrown at us into the foundation of something stronger, something that will last for generations to come. As for my siblings, I've come to understand that forgiveness is not something I offer for their sake but for mine. Their cruelty, their greed, and the way they rejected me, it could have broken me, but instead it shaped me into someone stronger, wiser, more determined to break the cycle and be different. There's a saying, the best revenge is success. I've lived that, but I would add one more thought to it. True success isn't just measured in financial terms. It's found in living with moral integrity and lifting others as you rise, and in knowing that the choices you make today will echo long after you're gone, and that in the end is the real victory. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, like the video and subscribe to our channel. This is the Twist Vault, where justice always finds its way. See you next time.